taking a solemn oath to form the secret ninja force.
Entering. Okay on Christmas.
Alright guys, so I watched the newest Pixar film, of course, Cars 3. I saw it in the Dolby Cinema at AMC Prime. And, of course, AMC was giving out pins for their AMC Stubs member. And the nice lady, she gave me, I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's Lightning McQueen because ka-chow. So I'm gonna wear that right there. But let's get right onto the review. So what Cars 3 is about, we have Lightning McQueen, who is surrounded by a bunch of new generation cars in his racing career, and he's not as good or as fast as he used to be. Of course, all these new cars are based off technology a little bit more, so they're a bit more quicker. Most notably, the kind of villain in this movie, Jackson Storm, who is the one who's beating Lightning McQueen on all these races. And Lightning McQueen is, again, not as good as he used to be, and he really wants to prove that even though he's not part of that new generation, he wants to prove that he's still good for the age that he's been racing for, so he gets trained by one of the newer technology, newer generation cars, who is Cruz Ramirez, and hopefully by making Cruz Ramirez train Lightning McQueen, hopefully he could be a bit more quicker and one of the best racers once again. This movie has a Rocky 4, I believe it was, vibe to it, where we have Rocky training to... So first off, let's start off with the things that I really like about this film. This movie, Pixar's trying to convey a message through this movie. It's trying to tell you to forget everything that happened in Cars 2, because this is the real sequel to Cars, and this is the Cars sequel we deserve. And they don't really mention anything that happened in Cars 2, so that's good, and at least Pixar knew that it was kind of a mistake of them to make Mater the main character in Cars 2, because Mater's screen time in this movie is about 6 minutes in total, and that's good because I always thought that Mater is a good side character and a supporting character, but not enough for him to basically carry a whole Cars movie. Now, I like the first Cars, and Cars 2 I see where I definitely see that people don't like it. Like, I completely understand, but I just don't hate it. But I do agree, it just doesn't feel like the typical movie that Pixar would release. It feels like a Disney Channel cartoon. I also really like how the story went with this movie. When I heard that they were making a Cars 3, I'm like, we really need Cars 3. I don't think anyone's asking for it. If so, what can you possibly do for Cars 3? And they actually gave out a really smart idea where the main character, who used to have a lot of fame and all that, he's not all that famous anymore because he's a bit older and we have all this new competition. And I just didn't know how they were gonna handle that in the movie, but they handled it really well. And I thought that I love how they did the story in this movie. It's just fantastic. And it really does make sense to have these new cars full of new technology, of course, where they get trained. They have this like virtual reality track where you're just literally just standing there and it feels like you're racing on a track. That's something that they now train the cars with in this movie, and it really makes sense to make this storyline, especially in the year that we're in, 2016, where everything is getting, involved with technology, everything. It really makes sense. And of course, it's not a Pixar movie without heart. The heart in this movie, it's totally understandable. We have a really deep moment with a deep conversation with Lightning McQueen and Cruz Ramirez, and Cruz Ramirez is basically telling Lightning McQueen how she had this dream and it really never happened. And then from there, that's where we got the heart from this movie, and it really made sense. And of course, that's something that Cars 2 was missing, and even if it did have heart, it felt really forced in Cars 2, but here, they timed it at the perfect moment, and it was just perfect right here. Again, what made Lightning McQueen likable is still there. What made Mater likable in the first movie is there. Again, even though he's only 6 minutes in this movie, there's reasons why he shows up in this movie, and not like that he shows up out of nowhere, and he's still kind of funny in this movie. But definitely my favorite character in this movie, and one of my favorite characters in this Cars franchise, of course, Lightning McQueen is still the best. Why not? Cruz Ramirez. Again, that backstory just really hit me, and you just kind of cheer for her in the end. Also, the animation here, it's definitely one of Pixar's finest animation to date. For example, those shots where they're in the racing track and they kind of like zoom into like the car's wheel just spinning, it looks like they were actually filming a real car, and those racing scenes are just fantastic. The animation just works really well, and it's definitely the best animation out of the 3 Cars movies, because the animation in this movie looks less cartoony than it did in the last movie. Now, some problems that I had with this movie. One flaw that I had is that there are like a moment or two in this movie where they're kind of explaining something, and then you're like, wait, is this gonna happen towards the end of the movie? And it does, so it just kind of gets predictable sometimes. And sometimes it also feels over the top, like just really silly, because this movie has like a quite serious tone to it, but at the same time there are some times where the characters are kind of goofy or silly, or scenes that are goofy and silly. For example, a scene where they're in this like competition thing where they're just cars just hitting each other and all of that, and then there's the school bus that has like this really like funny voice, and it just kind of gets silly sometimes. That's what I'm trying to say. I guess that was just to entertain the kids, but either way, this movie is really enjoyable, and I really liked that first teaser trailer, but from there, the trailers were just kind of, it was just promoting it like a complete kids movie, and it just didn't feel like the Cars movie that they were trying to make. But luckily, it all paid off in the end, and I'm gonna say it, this movie is the best Cars movie out of the 3. And this movie got the franchise back on track, no pun intended, and I just really like this movie more than I thought I was gonna like it. I thought it was either gonna be just okay or mediocre, and I definitely think that this movie is definitely full price worthy, and that's why I'm gonna give Cars 3 a B+. As a guy who really cares and loves animation, this year has been really disappointing for animated movies. Of course, the only 2 great animated films released this year was Cars 3 and the Lego Batman movie, and yes, I would consider this movie as great, especially in a year where every animated film is either just okay, mediocre, or bad. It's good to finally have a great animated movie ever since the Lego Batman movie. But anyways, oh, by the way, it's the Dolby Atmos, the Dolby Cinema gimmick really worked here. The Dolby Atmos, it puts you into like the track with Lightning McQueen. It felt really realistic, so if you can find a theater with Dolby Atmos, see this movie that way. But yeah, definitely see this movie. If you guys seen this movie, please tell me what you guys thought about it in the comment section down below. As always, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.